Greetings ladies and gentlemen, my name is GRM Adrian and I welcome you back to the channel. The latest top 10 MMO video is here and this time we're heading to Tamriel to take a look at the Elder Scrolls Online as voted by you. This took some time to come out because, as many of you know, I hadn't played it before and I actually took the time over a period of a couple of months to invest and immerse myself completely in the Elder Scrolls Online, and I've been live streaming my leveling process, which you can watch in a playlist I've put together, and I've left links in the description box below and at the end of the video. Now let's talk about some ESO. The Elder Scrolls Online was released in 2014 and what a journey it has been for the game. The amount of press this game got on top of the negative reviews were incredible. Justified perhaps, but I'm in no position to talk about what the game was like at release. I'm here to talk about the now. And I want to make one thing very clear. Yes, this is an Elder Scrolls game, but my reasons to play were formed from an MMO perspective. Therefore, if you're new to my channel and are watching my top 10 videos for the first time, know that I review these games as an MMO first and everything else second. So, if you're completely new to the Elder Scrolls Online, here are my top 10 reasons to check this MMO out right now. Number 10. Multiplatform. If you're new and want to jump into the Elder Scrolls Online, it should be noted that the game is not just on the PC or Mac, it's on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 too. While console gamers will need an active Xbox Live or PSN subscription to play, I think it's great that the game isn't limited to only PC and Mac. Not many MMOs do multi-platform, and of those that do, only a handful are AAA titles. I frankly don't give a damn about PC or console bias. As a universal gamer, I think players should be thankful that the game has a wider reach, and when the game does well on all the platforms, it's the players that benefit. Number 9. Story and lore. MMOs that have original IPs are always at a disadvantage compared to established IP ones like Lotro and SWTOR, for example, in the sense that players are familiar with the story and lore from the source material and can buy into it and get behind the main narrative without trying too hard to like it. I personally have a hard time getting immersed and following stories in original IP games like WildStar, for example. ESO, on the other hand, is sitting in between the two. It's not exactly a new IP as it's been around for ages, but for new players it may be hard to get into the Elder Scrolls lore for the first time. I am here to say that this is not a concern because the stories, the main quest, and the presentation of the lore and how it's delivered to you is so well placed, paced, and not forced down your throat that I was always learning about the world, its history, and wanted more. So for newbies, it doesn't matter if you've never played an Elder Scrolls game before or only played one like Skyrim or Oblivion. ESO does a great job at orientation, and very quickly you will find yourself hooked to one of the 3 Alliance story arcs thanks to decently fleshed out characters and plots, great voice acting, and a generous amount of lore books spread throughout Tamriel on top of a pretty satisfying main story. It checks all the things I want in an MMO story too, decisions that matter, and how they affect NPC responses, the environment, and phasing effects such as what happens to a town after you save it from a bunch of werewolves. Number 8. Steam integration. I am a sucker for decluttering my computer when it comes to video games, and when I was first starting out in ESO, I was glad that the game was available through Steam. Not only does it offer convenience for gamers by being on a platform that houses the other games that you play and gets rid of the need for individual clients and launchers, but being on Steam also takes the region and currency you're in into consideration, giving you a fair price point for any purchases that you should make. Take for example yours truly. As you know, I'm in Malaysia. If I were to purchase a 1-month subscription directly from the website without going through Steam, it's gonna cost me $14.99 US. That's about 66 Malaysian ringgit after conversion. Buying a sub for ESO through Steam, on the other hand, allows the platform to evaluate the currency based on my region and offer me a cheaper price at 59 Malaysian ringgit. That's dandy. And also, the game's accessibility and reach would have increased by being on Steam. Of course, there are those who strictly prefer to just download the launcher directly, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the point I'm making here is that ZeniMax should be commended for offering players the option to pick either one. Number 7. Account-based rewards. One of the things I was most impressed by from playing ESO as a newbie was how the MMO rewards you with account-based goodies. Completing achievements on your main or first character, such as finishing the main storyline, reaching certain champion levels, or even buying a mount from the in-game store, automatically grants these rewards to your account. Some of these achievement-based rewards, such as costume outfits or personality emotes, will show up on your account's collection page, so that means your newer alts can use them straight away. Accumulated champion points, which is ESO's endgame trait tree progression system that boosts attributes, can also be used to spec your alts in a similar way that Diablo 3 does with its Paragon point system. Sure, veterans may argue that this makes the game less challenging when playing through with alts, but you can't deny the positive aspects that account-based rewards and progression brings. And you know, games that rely heavily on microtransactions will never utilize account-based rewards as much, so that alone speaks volumes about the type of MMO that ESO is. Number 6. Add-on support. When it comes to the Elder Scrolls games, there's always some form of continuity in the franchise that will carry over from game to game. The design of the UI is one such feature, and it's unique for an MMO. It's simplistic yet iconic for fans of the game. For ESO first-timers like myself that are familiar with MMOs but not necessarily comfortable with the Elder Scrolls style of the UI, the fact that there's add-on support is such a game changer for me. Not only can I customize the game to look the way that I want it to, such as showing all the information that I need, but there's also plenty of convenience add-ons out there from sites like ESO UI, Nexus Mods, and Curse that improves my gameplay and makes ESO more enjoyable for me, being able to tailor my gaming experience to just how I like it. Kudos to the devs for allowing add-ons, but unfortunately there are no add-ons for playing on the PlayStation or Xbox. Number 5. Nonlinear progression. One of the main complaints that most reviews covered about ESO when the game launched was about the lack of freedom, the limitations set upon players to quest together, across alliances, and in zones where they had no right to be in. Of course, that sandboxy freedom is a staple for traditional single-player RPG games the likes of Bethesda are used to cranking out for the Elder Scrolls, but in the MMO space, you'd think that it would be a no-brainer for ZeniMax to go down that path as well. Sadly, it didn't turn out like that at release, and we're gonna leave it at that. Today, the Elder Scrolls Online is in a much better place. The 1 Tamriel update has completely opened up the world to players, introduced level scaling, and as a result, players are given the freedom to go wherever they want and do whatever they want without being shoeboxed. And it's not just the zones that are non-linear, the questing and character progression has impressed me as well. Right out of the tutorial, and assuming you have access to the DLCs such as the Thieves Guild, the Dark Brotherhood, Orsinium, or even Craiglorn, you are free to go to these previously level gated zones and take on the quests, which will award you experience points and gear that's appropriately scaled to your level. So you're given the option to either participate in a traditional quest hub crawl or go make your own. You could totally have fun in crazy ways too. Go steal from NPCs and make a profit. Just be careful because there's a justice system in place. And then there's PvP. Cyrodiil is a huge open map with a bunch of quests that you can perfectly pick up at level 10 to complete, on top of joining the Zergfest to score some kills for points. And that feeling of non-linear, organic character and world progression doesn't come from the 1 Tamriel update alone. Truth be told, some of these systems have been in the game for quite some time, and they are things that you don't usually come across in other MMOs, which makes the game unique. I've left no stone unturned during my questing throughout ESO. I find a lockbox, I pick it open, I gain XP with my Legend of Main skill tree, allowing me to put points into it to become a better thief if I wanted to. I see a bookcase in a home I've broken into. I read it. It has a book about heavy armor. I gained a level in my blacksmithing crafting tree. I see a lore book in the world. I pick it up and read it. I gain some guild XP with the Mage's Guild and some character XP. It totally breaks the monotony of simply grinding quests and killing monsters as the only way to advance your characters. Some systems can be attributed back to classic Elder Scrolls games too. Pick up a weapon and its skill set, use it often, put them on your bar, and you'll level it that much quicker, unlocking more advanced skills and passives for later levels. So as you can see, progression comes in many ways, and what I like about it is that it feels natural because you are being rewarded for playing in the way and style that you like, and it totally isolates that feeling you get when you're playing a theme park MMO. And in my opinion, that makes the journey through the game much more enriching and satisfying. Number 4. The combat system. Leave your tab targeting at the door. If your crosshair isn't focused on your target, you're not gonna hit it. As someone who comes from playing a bunch of tab targeting MMOs, I appreciate the change of combat style, but I must admit the action style did take a while to get used to. but 2 months and 50 levels later, I will say that it works for the game, and it's pretty fun for first timers. There are no auto attacks in ESO, so you're pretty much going to be manually and actively participating in combat. You can throw light attacks or heavy attacks and block with your weapon for a basic cost of stamina. Abilities, on the other hand, depending on your build, will consume either magicka or stamina, so there is some resource management at play here, and you can't just go trigger happy and spam your best skills all the time, so it's a nice alternative to the dreaded global cooldown. The combat mechanics are not groundbreaking or revolutionary, but does enough to keep you invested. See, every class has 3 class trait trees that comes with active and passive skills. Every weapon has a tree. The 3 armor types, being light, medium, and heavy, also has trees. You're free to wear and use anything. There are no restrictions here. So every time you get some skill points, you spend them on your trees to unlock abilities. Your job is then to find which 5 active skills and 1 ultimate ability that's going to be sitting on your skill bar. And that's the fun part. Use these skills long enough, they will gain ranks and can be morphed into alternate versions, some offering more DPS, some offering more support, or some changing which resource it will consume, such as moving from magicka to stamina. So in my opinion, this makes the combat interesting as you have a lot of customization options with builds, rotations, and such. In a group environment such as PvP and PvE dungeons, everyone can do everyone's job, and the only question is how well. Of course, when it comes to combat in MMOs is a subjective topic. It's personal preference. I've seen people saying that ESO's combat is sluggish, while others call it unnecessarily flashy, and that's fair. But all I'm interested in is whether or not ESO's combat system works in an MMO environment, where the application is fun enough to last till endgame through dungeons and through hours of PvP, and my answer is yes. Number 3, the developers. I only include developers in the list if they've proven themselves as worthy MMO devs, and I feel that ZeniMax Online Studios has managed to steer the ship around and prove me wrong. I was there at the very beginning, soaking in all those reviews and crap that was thrown their way, and rightly so for the state that ESO launched in. And in this landscape, some developers just never learn, never listen, and take years before they admit they got it wrong and change their game for the better. And in MMO years, ZeniMax Online Studios turned it around faster than half of what other MMO developers and studios out there would have done. I don't know the full story about the who, how, what, or why. I just know that ZOS had a plan to make the game better and have gone from strength to strength with each update, like going buy to play, introducing quick fire quality and fan favorite DLCs, launching on consoles, and opening up the world with one Tamriel. These appear to be decisions that worked, and it doesn't end there. Player housing is coming this month, and we're actually heading to Vardenfell, Morrowind, later this year, on top of getting a new class. It's exciting times as a new player, and the devs are really pulling their weight here. I'm sure there's problems that still need fixing, and I probably will never know the level of competence that ZeniMax has compared to the veterans who've been playing since launch. All I can say is that being an MMO nomad and having a broad range of experiences in all types of MMOs under different developers and studios is what I do here at the channel, by the way. I review them, and you ESO folks have no idea what you've got. The content you're getting in recent times, when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, line that up against other MMOs, you guys are getting a damn good deal here. For newer players, I think it's fair to say that ESO is currently well managed if you had any previous concerns. Number 2, player community. In my 2 months leading up to this video, I've had nothing but good experiences with the player community on the North American mega server. The zones are very well populated and never feel empty thanks to the landscape events and bosses. Towns are always bustling with activity regardless of zone, and it's so common to see players out and about, stealing and killing innocent NPCs mostly, but that's a good thing. Chat is lively, and it's really easy to get advice, find new groups, join one of the many guilds that's recruiting, from social to PvP to trading guilds, and as a new player, you're pretty spoiled for choice. Just like Guild Wars 2, you can join up to 5 guilds as well, so you're never alone when you log on. Role-playing is a thing in The Elder Scrolls Online, but not as prominent, so you may have to look on the forums on how to get started if you can't find a guild. But overall, The Elder Scrolls Online felt alive and well when I jumped in, so that's always a good sign. Number 1. value for money. The biggest compliment I can give The Elder Scrolls Online is that, to me at least, the game I've played feels nothing like what I've heard about at launch. It's definitely not the same game, and I say that in the best way possible. If it launched in its current state, both critics and players would be raving about this. Now let's talk about getting your money's worth as a new player. I bought The Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited on Steam during a sale for 54 Malaysian ringgit. That's roughly $12 US, so for a Steam sale in the States, you're looking at about under 20 bucks a pop. And keep in mind, this is a buy-to-play MMO. Buy once, free forever. And for the money spent, the amount of content I'm getting is so worth my money. There's over 500 hours worth of base content here, even without the paid DLCs. And those are decently priced too, so you can buy them in a store bundle or pick up the gold edition during a Steam sale. PvP is not paywalled. Ability bars are not paywalled. You don't get any of that free to play crap here. Now, adding the DLC into the equation, you're looking at fully fleshed out zones, more zone story quests and side quests that are fully voiced, new skills and skill trees, more dungeons and group content. The list could go on. And at the rate new content is coming out, like mentioned earlier, player housing this month, Morrowind later, it's beginning to feel like a bargain. And I had no problem becoming a subscriber for the content alone, because in a few months, the free crowns I get will be used to buy the DLC packs permanently. You don't want to sub? No problem. Purchase crowns and unlock the DLCs anyway. It's a great business model and you never feel cheated. If you've been watching my weekly live streams, I've just hit level 50 and barely scratched the surface in terms of exploring the endgame content. There's PvP, trials, veteran pledges, or even going over to the other alliance zones and experiencing those quests and stories too. And if you feel that's not enough, remember, this MMO is only 3 years old. Imagine what the catalog would look like 10 years from now. I can't wait to see what else The Elder Scrolls Online has up its sleeves. And that concludes my top 10 reasons for new players to check out The Elder Scrolls Online. To recap, I've had a fun couple of months in Tamriel. I think the world is beautiful, filled with great stories and quests that you can play through perfectly fine without the need to be an Elder Scrolls lore buff. The game has unique, non-linear progression systems and a combat mechanic that will satisfy you if you need a break from the traditional theme park MMO. And the future of The Elder Scrolls Online looks bright, because at the rate ZeniMax Online Studios is going, pumping out content, there will be plenty to do in ESO, so I highly recommend checking this MMO out. And you know, I've mentioned that it does go on sale, so if you're smart, I say pick it up at a bargain price. But wait a minute, it can't all be unicorns and rainbows, can it? Surely there must be some negatives. And you're right. As ever, every MMO has its own set of issues, and in my time with ESO, I've encountered a few that's worth pointing out. So stay tuned, I will put out a separate video covering issues, and I do have a feeling a lot of the ESO veterans would like to contribute to that. So, while my adventures in Tamriel are officially done, I will continue to play it on my own time, so you can catch me in-game at Hafelheim. But the life of an MMO nomad means I never stick, the show and the videos must go on, and for my next top 10 adventure, I only have one word to say: Tyria. So, if you enjoyed the content, do give the video a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more on MMOs and game reviews. Once again, my name is GRM Adrian and I thank you for watching. Edward, I'm done. Get in here. Oh, pardon me. Hello there. You've reached the end screen of the video. If you'd like to subscribe to this channel and get notifications on the latest videos, click the button in the middle to subscribe to this plunker. If you'd like to watch more MMO top 10s, click the playlist to the right. For a completely random video, click the video on the left. Thank you for your kind consideration. My name is not Edward and I'm not from the UK. Goodbye.